Marcus Pearson, who you probably know as Notch, is preparing to publicly release his newest game after just a week of mostly private development. While it was still incredibly buggy and lacked features, the first few playtesters were intrigued or even addicted with this deceptively simple game. They were building houses, castles, and already begging for more. All he had to do now was post a link to play it online. But how do we get here? Well, it's quite the journey. In December 2008, Notch released Left 4K Dead. It was a very basic clone of Valve's similarly named game, made with just 4 kilobytes of memory, and was met with surprising praise. Journalists and YouTubers covered it, while more than 250,000 people downloaded the game and crashed Pearson's website. While it wasn't necessarily his first success, it was the most recognition he'd gotten for his work in a while. But there was a problem. Notch couldn't make money from L4KD, nor any game he made in his spare time. His employer, King.com, who'd later become famous for their predatory mobile games, felt threatened by their programmers working on their own personal projects, and barred them from monetizing anything they made. This bothered Marcus. While Left 4K Dead was ultimately just a fun small title for a competition, he knew that he had the potential to find success on his own, but was tied down by paranoid and selfish executives. He would begin to start searching for a new job, and in the meantime, he'd need to figure out what kind of full-fledged game he'd even want to make. And thanks to archived IRCs, we have a pretty good idea of what he was up to. Internet relay chats were sort of like Discord before Discord. You can imagine them as independent chat rooms, often connected together through various means. These were extremely popular in the 90s, but had quickly fallen off into obscurity as modern forums, MySpace, Twitter, Dig, 4chan, and YouTube branched out and fulfilled their own specific niches. However, IRCs would have a minor resurgence thanks to the fledgling indie game community due to the ability to instantly communicate with a small group of like-minded users without all the riffraff of the wider web. It's also important to remember that this was long before the tidal wave of popularity for indie developers brought about by Undertale, FNAF, or well, you know. Instead, this niche consisted of maybe a couple hundred nerds that were just beginning to make a name for themselves. Notch often found himself on an IRC for the lightweight Java game library, a broad software tool used by people unfortunate enough to become Java programmers. And on February 15th, 2009, he'd talk about his latest project. I miss doing 3D, so I'm back now.
You gonna create a new 3D game?
Hopefully. Right now I'm just making an engine, and I'm more than happy to leave it at that. But it would be cool if it became a game.
What are you working on, Marcus?
An isometric 3D engine in an LWJGL. Right now it's got 512 by 512 by 64 blocks and runs at 200 FPS with a gazillion trees.
Nice. Hate the rock tiles, though.
Yeah, 2 minutes in paint.net.
Think it's the coloring, but seems applied to all the tiles?
Yeah, that won't be in any final game I make with this, I'm just testing the per tile tinting. Grass, for example, could get more washed out and brown the more you travel. Ruby dung is an interesting topic as it's something most of y'all have probably heard about in various trivia videos, but I feel like those almost always gloss over what it actually was. And to be fair, we barely know anything about it. But Marcus did kinda describe it in this interview.
So where did you get the idea for the game Minecraft?
Well, it started out, I was playing Dwarf Fortress and losing, and I thought the interface was so complicated, but there's really some kind of interesting gameplay in it. It was really reminded me of like Dungeon Keeper and...
All those roguelikes and stuff?
Yeah, roguelikes and Dungeon Keeper are like bullfrog games. It's really cool, and I thought, because I was also at the time playing Roller Coaster Tycoon 2.
Right.
So I thought that like this game with like a Roller Coaster Tycoon, like really simple approach, would be really cool. So I started making a prototype with a third-person view.
Some misconceptions about Ruby Dung that I should mention is that it was never really a game. The name itself is a placeholder for all his RPGs. And while Notch imagined a sandbox colony simulator with resource gathering and base building that didn't require you to read 500 different wiki pages to understand it, RubyDung would never get past the pre-alpha stage. After failing to make a popular first-person mode inside the world, he seemingly lost motivation and shelved it. A few weeks later, Pearson played Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars, a somewhat controversial mix of the original top-down GTAs, but with the 3D era graphics. He got an idea to make a sequel to L4KD in the visual style of Chinatown, and would spend the next few months making a new engine from scratch. He'd also make a character model made of just 6 cubes, and from the only footage we have of this project, you might recognize them. But once again, Notch got bored or hit a wall in development, and gave up. By late April, Marcus would finally get some good luck in the form of being hired by JAlbum, a free-to-use application for organizing photos. They were willing to allow him to work on his own personal projects with no financial limitations, and he could leave King and monetize his work in just a month or 2. But he still had no clue on what to make. Pearson, likely looking back on his dozens of unfinished games, felt frustrated and tired. He knew that he had the potential to create anything he wanted, but instead all he could make were tech demos and small games for competitions. By this point, he seemed to desperately wish for the ability to just come up with an idea for a game and actually be forced to finish it.
David Collins, Reliquary Game Review. Today's game is Infiniminer from Zachtronics Industries. Infiniminer is a simple freeware computer game with an addicting dynamic world. Today we'll dig deep into this online gold mining simulator, which many of you probably haven't heard of. A quick summary. Infiniminer is a team-based spelunking adventure of epic proportions. The object of the game is to mine valuable minerals from deep within the ground, working with your team to do so. The team that reaches the goal amount of money wins the round, and a new map is randomly generated for the next adventure. There are buildings to construct, TNT to detonate, and fun times to be had by all.
Zachtronics Infiniminer is sometimes treated like the Hydrox of the gaming industry. There are dozens of clickbait YouTube titles or Reddit threads that imply Notch blatantly stole the idea of Infiniminer and try to sweep its existence under the rug. It probably goes without saying, but this isn't really the case. The game quickly spread by word of mouth for its malleable environment and easy to learn gameplay, but Pearson, alongside quite a few others, noticed issues. It was quite limited. The blocks existed almost solely to navigate the map and access gold, leading to little variation and only 1 of 2 colors to work with. Despite this, players often opted to spend more time playing around with the available blocks and world generation than to actually achieve the main objective. The game also just didn't look or sound very good. The reliance on programmer art can be pulled off really well, but this just ain't it. Notch still thought the idea had immense promise. The swift growth in popularity and addictive gameplay showed that there was a potentially massive untapped market for a sandbox game that let you truly do anything. He finally knew what he wanted to make, and on May 11th, 2009, he got to work.
What's up, you guys? PSP SDK here with a tutorial on
After 2 days of programming, Marcus had something. The engine generated a small, finite world with randomly generated caves. It reused textures from RubyDung, as well as some of its source code in order to save time. Despite the progress, the engine was struggling to render worlds properly, and thus Notch headed to the IRC to see if anyone more experienced with the software could help. Is building display list slow? I was trying to narrow down a performance issue last night.
Yes, if you wanted doing per frame.
Okay, I guess I should use vertex buffers instead. They don't update each frame, but often enough to cause concern.
It doesn't have rather big overheads, yes, but the performance is probably optimal once you got them.
Yeah, I'm working on an Infiniminer clone. I've got chunks of blocks, 16 by 16 by 16 blocks, Each block can have a maximum of 3 quads. Okay, this goes on for a very long time. Like 5 or 6 hours of programmer yapping that, to be honest, I don't really understand. And most of y'all probably wouldn't either. At one point though, Notch was trying to find the optimal chunk size, comparing 8x8 and 16x16. Riven suggested the horrible idea of making it 14x14. Really, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but considering how much of this game is built on the power of 2, it feels so cursed. Another user also mentioned adding level of detail to improve performance, but I think Pearson knew deep down in his heart that it was absolutely vital for those leaves and flowers 1,000 blocks away across an ocean, taking up 2 pixels on your screen, to be fully rendered. Regardless, by evening, Notch had improved the performance enough to record a video, and after waiting an hour for Google to upload it, he shared a link. And what they saw was this. Actually, what they saw probably looked more like this, due to YouTube's terrible compression for new videos at the time. Still, the first ever people to see it were intrigued despite how bare bones it was. Kappa1 asked if lava was in the game, and they also suggested adding ice that melted when around lava. Riven, on the other hand, wanted ropes to swing through caves. Shamefully, we still don't have grappling hooks. Now that the engine was working well enough, Pearson spent the next couple hours to add actual gameplay. While he does that, I'm going to do something that might be very controversial. I've always found some of the update names for pre-alpha to be extremely confusing, and while it ultimately doesn't matter too much, I'm going to retroactively rename certain versions that either weren't labeled or have NASA names, to hopefully make it easier to understand where we are at any given point. I'll avoid it as much as possible, and I will put the proper title underneath anytime it's different. Just know if I ever stop doing this, assume the Omni Archive have me at gunpoint. Well, I guess knife point. Around 10 PM, Notch finished the first properly playable version of Cave Game. And thanks to Mojang publicly recompiling this version later on, we're actually able to play it. The world is now completely flat, and cave generation has been removed. However, you can break blocks and place cobblestone. Grass works in a very weird way, and there are a few minor bugs like this one. But since you can save worlds, I was able to build these houses, a pyramid, and that castle in about 2 hours a while back. Quite impressive all things considered for the first true version of the game. But obviously, Notch was far from done. He needed a player model that fit the theme of the game he was making. While it was still an Infiniminer clone at this point, he didn't like the flat 2D sprites it had, but didn't really have the artistic ability to make anything much better than that. Suddenly he remembered that zombie game. A basic cuboid mob, which even had basic AI, would be a perfect fit. So after porting it to LWJGL and tinkering around a bit, the fourth known build of Cave Game would feature roughly 100 very silly fellows running around. His girlfriend Ellen would be the first to playtest Cave Game, building a small house and taking this screenshot. With this, Marcus was content and happy with the work he got done that day, mentioning on his new Tumblr blog that he'd be taking a day-long break from development. Despite this reprieve, he would still spend time on IRCs, specifically one for the Independent Game Source, a community for, well, indie games. This was the place he first learned about Infiniminer, and it would also be here that a proper name for Cave Game would be decided. I need a name for my game. Quake? No.
Monsquas! It reminds me of the Aztecs. What type of game is it?
Infiniminer Dwarf Fortress inspired building nonsense.
Infinite Dwarf Sense.
Rockman? No. Ugh. Minor over matter? No. Bad puns make for bad names.
The key things in titles you usually want are memorability, easy to spell, and unique to that game. Cave Walker.
Expletive deleted.
Cave Command.
Cave Craft.
I kinda like Cavecraft.
Buildorator.
Cave Builder. Sim Cave.
How about World of Cavecraft?
Cave.
The Dig.
Final Cave. Legend of Cave. Cave Warrior.
Escape from the Surface.
We could call it Great Tower. Wait a second, am I allowed to say that on YouTube?
Oh, yeah, no, let's just skip that.
Dig, Builder. Order the Stone.
Order of the Stone. I like that one. Plus, I get to refer to it as Oots for maximum confusion.
Cavecraft, Order of the Stone.
Lost in the Dark.
Stonelands. I like lands. Then again, the focus in the game won't be on stone really.
What do you build with?
I'll have a bunch of materials. Wood, stone, metals, dirt perhaps. Order of a bunch of materials.
The Stone Cutters. Craft Miner.
Minecraft, Order of the Stone.
Gold Digger.
Avarice.
Dig Maker.
Minecraft seems mostly free. 6,000 hits, the first one is some consulting firm. I really like that name.
Oh man, I like that.
Minecraft Order of the Stone it is. So, who do I credit for the name? Minecraft Order of the Stone had been decided, but from what I can tell, the latter half of the name was dropped almost immediately due to the worry it confused people. Though it might ring a bell if you played story mode. The next day would be pretty quiet. The idea of slabs, stairs, and slopes were floated around in LWJGL, while on TIG, a user suggested a very unique way of placing blocks, which would actually end up getting added to the game, but we'll get around to that. Later on that day, a new build for Minecraft was finished, and it's also perhaps the first one we could consider a proper update. Dirt, stones, and planks were added, the physics engine was refined, while a very basic world generator was functional. Oh yeah, and there was also this. Shortly after, the game was updated again. While it only added block particles, and was quite buggy, we are once again lucky enough to have a playable copy of it, and it's okay I guess. The planks look quite similar to jungle wood, and cobblestone lost some of its contrast. Paired with the very light blue sky, these early versions start looking really washed out and just kinda to me. Once Notch finished adding in a very ugly non-functional sapling and making the planks look even worse, he was ready to begin private player testing around May 16th at 12 PM. The public release of Minecraft was just 24 hours away. Minecraft Alpha is available. I need someone on Windows, someone on Mac, and someone on Linux.
I'm on a Mac.
I'm on Windows.
I'm Linux.
Awesome. URL's PM'd. Let me know if it works, and if it does, how well it works.
The mouse movement is terrible.
What's wrong with it?
It barely moves, as though it is stuck, and then jerks.
I don't have that problem, but I need to invert the y-axis, or I will constantly walk into things.
I'll add a button to swap y-axis, and I'll try to smack the mouse look code around a bit.
Notch, I need to install Java first, so BRB.
There's a new version up. Reload the page. Y swaps the y-axis on the mouse, and the mouse look code is changed.
One thing I would prefer with this game, Notch, is the ability to climb a one-block ledge by pushing into it.
I reloaded and now there are no textures, everything is white.
New version, reload the page.
Notch, PM me the link again now that I have Tetris. Wait, what? Not Tetris, Java runtime. I'm getting like 8 FPS, and sensitivity for mouse look is almost nothing.
What kind of graphics card do you have, Junior Squee?
I have a GeForce 2.
Oh wow, that's old. Does it work? Can you play?
I can't really look around, but I can jump and move around. It isn't too bad.
Is the map random? Also, I think your particles are awesome.
Yay!
I added a ton of people, and my FPS shot down to 4.
I uploaded a new version with a huge, annoying version label.
Does your generator make caves? I haven't found any.
No, not yet. It will. Doc, could you check if the mouse look works better now?
No better.
Does it say 0.0.2a in the top left corner of the applet?
It was all white. This is much worse, actually.
It's probably caching the old version. Yeah, I know, I said it wrong.
I have 0.0.2a now. Mouse look is good again.
Yes, this is 0.0.2a. Seems nicer.
Playable?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'll stop touching it now. Thank you guys, you've been really helpful. I deem this relatively stable now, so here's a link if anyone wants to help test. Thanks to the help of Doc, Fartron, and Junior Squee, Notch was able to get the game running on a variety of systems without too much issue, and private testing would expand to the entire IRC. Over the course of several hours, the number of Minecraft players would grow from just 4 to several dozen. In a way, you could consider this the first spark of the Minecraft community, and they behaved accordingly. Several users immediately asked for the jump pads and Infiniminer to be added to Minecraft, which Marcus vehemently said no to. I guess they got the last laugh. Doc asked for a pick block feature while working on his house. Meanwhile, another user, on the topic of torches, suggested adding fireflies.
Oh, there's a landmine. Give me it back! Give it back! Give it back! Give it back! He's mine!
Yeah, sorry dude. About an hour later, version 0.0.3 through 0.0.9a would be released within a very short time period of each other. We don't really know a whole lot about them, besides the addition of caves and this building system that was almost immediately criticized by Fartron, and I can't say I'm much of a fan either. Interestingly, there's not actually any proof that 0.0.4a through 0.0.8a exist, but Mr. Lord Sith on the Omni Archive Discord had a theory that Notch was optimizing the game's code and making a bunch of other small changes. To me, this makes enough sense, and would set a decades-long precedent of Minecraft Java being built on layers and layers of spaghetti code that later had to be quickly jerry-rigged to work again when everything starts collapsing in on itself. I guess it could be worse though. With Minecraft relatively functional for the time being, Pearson took the rest of the day to relax and prepare for a full public release tomorrow. The link to play stayed functional, and so people would continue exploring the game and speculating. Fartron predicted that modding would be vital for Minecraft. JW posted a picture of his castle, making it one of the oldest surviving screenshots made by a player. C418, yes, that one, mentioned wanting to make a music video inside the game, and he'd start to chat with Notch more often. There were obviously many comparisons to Infiniminer. Zaratrusta called Minecraft a bootleg version, while quite a few others called it far better. I didn't mention it earlier, but Infiniminer was actually having quite the catastrophic downfall around the same time. Many people, at least based on what the owner of TIG IRC around this time told me, didn't really like the hard-coded and forced goal for a game that had so much potential for creativity. But the killing blow would be a source code leak that led to hackers ruining the vanilla experience, and the player base got split between several different modded forks. The developer gave up working on the game, and Infiniminer would become open source abandonware just a day before Minecraft released. Speaking of which, I think it's almost time. On the morning of May 17th, Notch was preparing 0.0.10a for a full public release, while TIG was bustling with activity and interest surrounding the game. A logo for Minecraft was designed, and a couple users were hounding Marcus to add guns. He was not receptive, saying they were more likely to get unicorns before rocket launchers. We got rocket launchers first. Around 1 PM, Evilville was finishing up a castle and uploaded a video of it to YouTube. This is the first ever player-made Minecraft video, and is unfortunately lost media at the time of recording. Still, this castle has developed a minor cult following, with an entire Discord dedicated to searching for it. As a brief side note, Evilville also seems to be the lead developer of a certain game called Cruelty Squad. I feel like I've understated it in this video, but the Java indie game community was very tight-knit. Several users mentioned this video ended up working with Pearson or Mojang to varying degrees. In general, most of these users were people with a genuine passion for game development, who'd often go on to make their own impact on the industry in one way or another. Where were we? Oh yeah, May 17th, 2009, at 1:53 PM. Notch compiled 0.0.10a and was ready to post it publicly, except he accidentally left in a critical bug that immediately crashed the game. So he rushed back into the source code, fixed the issue, tested it to make sure everything was working properly, and 4 minutes later finally posted a link to the applet on a playtesting section of the Independent Games forum. Minecraft had officially released, but this first iteration would evolve to become drastically different than what we'd come to know. and some might call it a whole other game entirely. Welcome to Minecraft Classic.